What's going on, guys? It's Coach Steven with 15 Points of Tennis. And unless you guys are skilled enough to just hit winner after winner from behind the baseline, or you're fit enough to just run all day and grind with your opponent for 2 hours, you need the volley. Now, net play does take a little bit more athleticism in terms of stretching for stab volleys, moving back for deep overheads, or reacting to fast reflex volleys. But the good news is that volley technique is relatively simple and simply the fastest way to learn how to finish points. So if your opponent is ever reaching like this and the ball floats, that should be a put away opportunity, okay? Or if you come in net and your opponent doesn't rip a hard passing shot precisely to the corner, that's an opportunity and a good to deflect that ball to the open court and win the point. And while most players, you might not hit spectacular volleys like Pete Sampras, those two scenarios I just described, it's reasonable to expect every player to win in those two scenarios. Now, I think a lot of players get discouraged or reluctant to come to net because there's more risk involved, obviously. And you're right, coming to net is what's called a double-edged sword. Okay, if I hit a great volley, the point's over. If I duff the volley, I'm pretty much done at net. And so if you don't know what you're doing with your volleys, how can you really trust and have confidence in your net play? So today we're going to cover a plethora of concepts, okay, to turn you into a very proficient volleyer. I'm going to put the timestamps below of the different concepts we cover. And in the next 2 follow-up videos, we are going to talk about the skills you need and demonstrate the drills to build those skills of how to put away a pusher. And I mean it because there's some point where pushers go extinct. So hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you do not miss those videos. We're going to get started on part 1 of the volley right here. I'll put a close-up on the screen below, but you need to be holding a proper continental grip. And funny enough, even some advanced players don't get this 100% correct. Now, a great way to test whether you're in the proper grip is if I make contact with the ball and I'm facing my opponent, my shoulder's facing you, where should the ball go? The ball should go to my left, right? Because my strings should be angled. Okay, if I want to hit the ball actually up the middle, I need to get my shoulders turned here to volley straight. Turn here to volley straight. And it actually takes a lot more energy to turn every single time compared to just hitting the ball straight on and not turning. But as humans, we're programmed to conserve time, to conserve energy. And second of all, so many times we practice just volleying up the middle and rallying with our friends that it encourages the use of the wrong grip, being the pancake grip. Okay? Now, the pancake grip is maybe okay for a super beginner, just to make solid flush contact on the strings and get the ball in. But the problem is with this grip is, number one, whichever way I angle the racket, where are my strings facing? The ball goes right back to my opponent. And 2, if I try to angle off the volley and by hitting the outside of the ball here or here, angling off the ball causes me to break my wrist. You see that? So my wrist can go from cocked to neutral. It can't go to broken. And I'll have to break my wrist to get angle with a pancake grip, so it's not going to happen. What we're going to do to train you to use the right grip in this first drill, we're going to practice sharp angle volleys cross court, right? And we're going to put the cones at an extreme angle, okay? And with this drill, you should be able to get angle on the ball. So without manipulating your wrist and breaking your wrist like this, you should be able to angle the ball here, angle the ball here, because your grip has natural angle built in. And funny enough, if we put the targets in the right place, from a coaching perspective, it's going to encourage you to automatically use the right grip. And guys, your angle volleys should be your default volley anyways, to put the point away. There's not much good in hitting volleys up the middle of the court. And the benefit to coming into net, to being inside the court, when I'm inside the court, look at how open my angles are, right? The moment I move back, my angles close off, close off, close off. So if I'm deep in no man's land and I hit a transition volley, I'll probably aim deep, closer to the middle. But once I move in with my split step and my angles open up, it's almost for sure angle volley to put the point away.
Let's take a look at the pancake grip. It's like patty caking the ball. And while it's good for 3-5 doubles, it's going to put a hard limiting cap on your volley improvement. So it's 100% worth, it's necessary to learn your continental grip skills. Now when you're angling the volleys off like this, you can get angle without much shoulder turn, as we talked about before. But this is going to be your quickest go-to way to develop a skill to win points at net. It's the simplest of all the different ways to put volleys away. My transition volley will go up the middle because I'm deeper in the court. I don't have the angle. Once I close, I'm going to go angle, and even a mediocre volley with angle will probably win the point, right? Just because you're so close to the net. That last one was lucky, but again demonstrates the use of continental grip skills to be able to get crafty when you're up close.
Now we talked about not breaking the wrist when you volley, but I want to go a step further. When you make contact on your volleys, your wrist needs to be in a laid back position here. So laid back position is the same thing as getting your wrist cocked back. So you have cocked, neutral, and then broken. But when my wrist is laid back, I have strength and stability. If I put pressure here, I have a lot of strength on the contact. Once my wrist breaks, I can't take that same pressure. Okay, it's going to be weak and it's going to destabilize that contact. So a lot of players mistakenly who try to manipulate their wrist as they volley like this and like this, okay, they have no strength at contact. So especially if the ball is coming hard and fast, I'm going to use the pace of the ball, obviously. I'm going to keep my wrist laid back the whole time. Boom, pretty much just block the ball and deflect. All right. Now, if the ball's floating and really soft, I can't really just block it for power. Even if I'm moving forward, I just don't have enough zip on the ball. All right. In the case of a softball, I need more speed, and that comes from moving the racket tip. So if we have that very hard rule of not breaking your wrist, how do we move the racket tip properly? Well, instead of moving your wrist, you need to learn how to engage your forearm muscle to move the tip. Now let me show you how that's done. So I'm going to turn my palm up to palm down, palm up to palm down, and as you can see, as I rotate my palm up to palm down, I'm working this forearm muscle, and my hand is flipping from up to down, and my wrist is not breaking. Okay, so if I put the racket in my hand and use that same forearm motion, watch the racket tip. It moves from low to high, low to high, low to high. If you move your racket tip from high to low, your wrist automatically breaks. Okay, low to high, it stays strong right here. You see the difference? Now, here's where the great optical illusion comes in, because you watch the pros, and the pros are swinging from high to low, all right? But I guarantee they aren't breaking their wrists. So let's break that down, right? Because players try to copy it and they emulate it incorrectly. So when I go from, I'm going to isolate my forearm right here. I'm going low to high, right? Now I'm going to isolate my shoulder, which goes high to low. If I combine those two motions, it looks like this. So the question is my racket tip going up or down? Even though my racket is going down, the tip is still going up. See right here, because I'm still doing this with my forearm. So sometimes you'll see, and we'll talk about when using more shoulder on your volley is a good thing, but sometimes you can see, you know, some of the old school volleyers like McEnroe, sometimes even Sampras, snap up on their volley, right? And that's the proper way to move your forearm.
I'm going to use a shoulder swing, go high to low on the volley. It's okay that the racket is going down because I'm not breaking my wrist. Now I probably should have showed you some with me breaking my wrist. Maybe I don't want to because I would have gotten injured or something. But this is fine for hitting a slice volley, and we'll discuss that later. Now here's low to high. To really get that movement with the forearm and movement with the tip, you're going to see in slow-mo, everyone wants to go high to low, but look, this is low and I'm going up to the ball. Okay, that's very different than how some coaches teach it. When you start adding the shoulder, it might not look like it, but I'm still going low to high with my forearm. Right, so it's kind of breaking the old pattern. You can still go high to low, but you have to just be mindful of breaking your wrist at all times. Keeping the racket head above the hand, that's really the golden rule here. And even for a lower volley, the racket head above the hand relationship doesn't change. Now, watching the greatest to ever do it, it is not incorrect to go low to high on your volley if you're keeping the proper wrist position. Now, Sampras will still slice some volleys. We'll get to that in a sec. That last volley you saw, again, it's shoulder with his forearm still going up. And it's no secret why his volleys penetrate while most players' volleys just sit there waiting to be ripped for a passing shot.
Now, if you can't move the tip from low to high using your forearm, you can't snap a volley and put it through the court. Because if you can't move your forearm like this, you're pretty much stuck with only moving your shoulder. Now, I mentioned in a previous video, it's worth mentioning again, but all the speed is contained right here in the racket tip, all right, which is controlled, look, by my small muscles right here, okay? My big muscles, my big joints like my shoulder, it doesn't matter how strong I am, see how there's no speed in the racket tip? So when the volley comes soft, I'm going to use a lot more wrist because I need that speed to put the ball away. Now, if someone's ripping the ball at me, I'm going to use a lot more shoulder to diffuse the pace, okay? So for slice volleys, which are great for diffusing pace, angle volleys, okay, and drop volleys, see how it's pretty much all shoulder based? I don't want any wrist movement. If I try to use my wrist like this, you know, on drop volleys and slice volleys, it's going to be way too inconsistent. Funny enough, when I was a junior player, pretty much every winner I hit was a angle volley or a drop volley. And in singles, that's totally fine. And that's probably your default, your go-to, because you don't need a lot of power in singles to put the ball away. Where my technical limitations hurt me was more in doubles. I was unable to really stick a volley through the net player, okay? And even if you train a lot and you're really strong, if you hit a shoulder-based slice volley like this, you just can't, it's just not good enough at a higher level to hit a penetrating volley.
Modifying your technique for the situation. When the ball comes with a little bit more pace like it is now, not even coming that fast, but a little bit more pace, this is mostly shoulder, very little wrist movement. If I use a little too much wrist movement, I think right there, the ball's going to fly on me. I can't do too much with it. I need more shoulder, which slows down my swing because I want it to feel as stable as possible and use a pace. When the ball is soft and floating, let's say in doubles you get a floater, you want to put it through the net player. Now look, you can get a ton of power and not even be moving forward very much or at all. This all comes with the speed in the tip as a more wrist dominant type of volley. Back to the shoulder based volley, this is great for slice. I'll use slice when I want to keep the ball low. It's great in transition to net for that first volley when you have some pace to work with. If I try to hit a slice volley too ambitiously, I'm probably not going to put it away. Now this is back to the volley with more wrist and a little bit flatter. This is going to be my finishing volley because it actually has speed through the court. It's not all going into the spin and slowing the ball down. Now featuring the slice volley, I have two objectives. Number one is to keep the ball low, make the passing shot tough like you saw there. The second one is diffuse the incoming pace coming at me. If you try to go up with the tip too much on a ball that's coming hard, it puts a lot of pressure on that forearm. Now Sampras uses a slice volley quite a bit. You're going to see a nice angle, keeping the ball extremely low. He's going to dig balls out at his shoestrings. Lastly, using the pace well on a transition volley, placing it well, and finishing on the next shot.
Now, chances are the later you picked up a tennis racket, the less likely you were to develop your fine motor skills being the small joints, the small muscles, because your gross motor skills, your big joints and the big muscles they're overcompensating, okay? So you aren't able to get that pop off the strings from the small joints. Now a lot of times you'll watch the pros, hit and volley, and although it looks like they're volleying and they'll take a big swing sometimes and volley like this, even though they're taking a big swing, and it looks like they're just moving their shoulder, there's still a lot of nuance right here. You see right here, with you moving the tip of the racket, which your eye doesn't pick up. Now, because a lot of players who learn to use their gross motor skills first, and their fine motor skills aren't isolated, they never develop the fine motor skills. So we're going to do a quick little drill here to develop your fine motor skills. So the first drill, we're going to actually do what's called wag volleys, all right? So just how we worked on before, you're going to get your arm out here. You're going to keep your arm completely still. Now, you won't volley like this in a match. It's just a drill. So my arm is going to stay completely still, and keep your body as still as possible as well. We're trying to isolate this one variable being the forearm and the wrist, and you're just going to wag the racket back and forth. And as the balls come, you're going to volley, volley, volley. I'm going to have someone feeding me volley, right? And so you're moving the strings from facing the sky to contact, sky to contact, sky to contact the whole time. Now, once you get proficient at that, and believe me, this is going to be one heck of a forearm workout. Once you can get proficient moving that tip, then you're going to practice, and I'll link you to another video, that recoil volley. And these drills will be absolute money to teaching you how to really snap with the tip and put the ball away.
Here's that wag volley that we talked about, and try to keep your elbow and your hand as still as possible. You have some players shaking their whole arm around. Now, timing wise, so even that one I mistimed it because I wasn't watching the ball very well, so you gotta time the wag, right? Even there I was early to the ball. It's gonna make you really judge the distance of the ball well, and that's what it takes, because you gotta coordinate your fine motor skills to the ball. Now I'm going to spare you from having to watch my recoil video, but now we're hitting the ball and then pulling back at contact. You should imagine trying to focus all the power at a singular point. This is great for your contact point with incorporating the tip movement back into your regular volley, and you can even do this in a match and it will be very effective.
Guys, now that you're moving the tip up here properly, you probably might be wondering, all right, I don't get I get going low to high, I'm feeling strong at contact. I don't always volley at my chest level. What if the ball's low? Well, for a lower volley, once you've trained the proper wrist movement right here, not breaking your wrist, you literally just drop the racket and do the same thing. Now, I'm still keeping the same wrist movement, but it's going to look a little bit more horizontal here compared to low to high here, right? Same thing. Now, you can still come down with the shoulder right here and keep the same wrist movement, and you can hit slice volley as well. Now, when you hit slice volley, you will move your wrist a little bit from cock to neutral. It just won't go past neutral, but the tip on a slice volley will go down just a little bit here. You see that? Just a little, but again, never to broken. So slice volley here, here, right? Here, here. Right? Flatter volleys will be here, here, snapping, again, depending on how much shoulder you use. So I just want to give you the full spectrum, and that's why it's important to be able to go from a volley you can punch to volley you can carve and slice. All right? It's so hard to train players who've only volleyed down like this their whole life to snap a volley up. And that's why these are the fundamentals of the volley. Now, when it comes to strength, backhand volley, it takes about double the amount of strength, and it takes a lot more forearm strength to be able to snap it flat, like we talked about earlier in the video. So either number one, you can build up your strength. We're going to show you to make sure you're doing your dribbles to build up your forearm. But still, on a practical level, guys, I use a lot of shoulder-based volleys. I use a lot of slice volleys. Okay, when you slice volley, it diffuses the pace and you don't need quite as much strength. And especially on the backhand volley takes double the strength. as forehand. So I'll probably slice a few more on the backhand, and on the forehand I'll look to really pop it through the court when it's floating. So you'll have to play by ear on that, and as you get better, then your options improve. But I wanted to give you really the full spectrum of tools when you're out there playing to make sure that you're proficient at net. So in the comments, let me know how this is working for you. If you have questions for me, I look forward to hearing from you guys. And I also look forward to seeing you on the next episode on the volley, where we teach you how to execute in the much more difficult situations.